prolonged and severe intrapersonal trauma can make a child or a person feel no longer human, or as though they're being treated like an animal, or that they're not even alive. And that's why non-human alters may sometimes present in forms that aren't human. It represents what that trauma has done to them. Hello everybody, my name is Omega. I'm an alter in the dissociative system. This YouTube channel is a mental health education service that provides education on dissociative identity disorder and other mental health issues and illnesses, especially ones that are derived from trauma. I'm supposed to be talking to you because I'm a non-human alter that was formed because of trauma, like all alters are. And I take the form of a ghost. I'm a dead alter. I'm going to be telling you why dead alters exist, and why ghost alters exist, and why inside the headspace where we can all see each other and the mind processes the trauma and the fragmentation of our personality, that I look the way I do. I know that Nin and everyone else usually wears makeup, but I don't wear makeup, so I hope that that's okay. Alters are part of dissociative identity disorder and OSDD, which is otherwise specified dissociative disorder. That forms when in childhood the personality is prevented from integrating and coalescing in normal development for everybody else. As you grow older, different parts of you, as you develop your need to eat and your want for love and your feelings and your experiences, as you grow, kind of knit together, and that becomes your personality. And that happens at around the ages of 7 to 9. If you have the inherent ability to dissociate from a young age to a high level, and you have unstable connections and disorganized attachments to your primary caregivers, and you experience repeated trauma before those ages as a child, the amnesia creates barriers in your brain to help you process and deal with the trauma. And this amnesia, this memory loss, prevents the personality from fully developing into one. So it like blocks different parts of your mind off from each other, different processes, so you end up with multiple personalities instead of just one. Obviously, because this happens in a child's brain, alters that are created will revolve around things that children find familiar and powerful, and in a lot of cases in like children's books and movies and TV shows and stuff like that. A lot of children watch things about like mythical creatures, like, you know, dragons and talking animals that are really strong and will always save the day no matter what happens. And so a lot of children would think, well, they're enduring trauma, their brain might think like, oh, if only I was a fairy, I could just fly away from this. Or, you know, if I was a dragon, I could just bite their head off, and I could be strong enough to, you know, not endure this horrible trauma that's happening to me, because they're a child. And so the brain generally processes things in your subconscious in quite metaphorical ways and quite interesting ways, just like dreaming. Your brain processes things through pictures. And if this child, or in some cases the adult, because once your brain has learned that that's how you cope with trauma, is to put up an amnesic wall and separate it, then if you experience more trauma through your life that the system, the collection of alters, isn't able to deal with as it is, then your brain can create a new separation, a new fragmentation, and it's a new alter. If there's an experience where, for example, the body is close to death, or the child feels like they're going to die, then the brain may believe, I'm going to die, I'm dead, I'm dying. In some cases that child or adult may be actually dying, and the way the brain processes that, if it splits, is with a dead alter, an alter that holds the trauma of a near-death experience or not feeling like they're alive. So for me personally, I was created in 2016 after a very close call suicide attempt that was extremely traumatic. I'm not going to get into details because I don't want to trigger anybody, but it happened in a forest, and we were reported missing by the police. The attempt failed, and we were kind of on the edge of death for a while, and it was winter, it was bitterly cold, and if we hadn't been found, then we would have died due to the cold. The whole thing was very traumatizing. The sounds, people calling for us, people searching for us. It was dark, it was foggy, it was winter, it was freezing, it was surrounded by trees, and we were dying. So Chloe did that, and shortly afterwards, yes, the brain made me. And for a long period of time, I didn't know I was an alter. I didn't know I existed. I was stuck in the forest in the inner world, and I was under a tree, but I was sort of floating off the ground. That's kind of how the brain exhibited the failed suicide attempt, because I was off the ground. This went on for about a year. I was just re-experiencing the same trauma memory on loop, just over and over and over and over again. And before the others in the system knew where or who I was, apparently the only thing I could say, the only thing I was repeating, I don't really remember. I just remember the memories, which I thought were real, because that's how PTSD works. I was just saying 999, which is the emergency number for police and ambulance in the UK. I hold other trauma as well. I guess when I was split off the brain, any attached more to me. That's my story. Alters themselves are the result of severe dissociation. They're constructed by the logic of a dream world, dream states, your subconscious brain. They can be strongly influenced by a person's culture or their childhood experiences, their likes and dislikes, and because of that, these alters can take any form inside, and it often represents the wants or desires or how they felt at the time. Alters who don't experience a human form inside exist, and it's recognised in the DSM-5. Prolonged and severe intrapersonal trauma can make a child or a person feel no longer human, or as though they're being treated like an animal, or that they're not even alive. And that's why non-human alters may sometimes present in forms that aren't human. It represents what that trauma has done to them. These can be animals, demonic or like angelic or spiritual alters like me and the ghost of spirit, mythical figures, robots, machines. And if you want to know more about that, I'd recommend looking at the video that Sally and Amira did on non-human alters, and that goes into more detail about the type of trauma and abuse that can create specific types of alters and why, in terms of being non-human. I know that some spirit type alters are known in the community as possession form identities. This is not a possession. I'm not a demon. I have not possessed this body. This is part of DID, which is a normal way for the brain to cope with severe trauma, repeated childhood trauma. It's not as rare as people think it is. About 2 to 3% of the population has dissociative identity disorder, and that's the same percentage of people who have red hair. The same amount of people have red hair and DID. It's more common than schizophrenia, and just as common as bulimia. We exist. We're out here. This is not a possession. But a lot of people who aren't diagnosed and are experiencing their DID may feel as though they have been possessed. Chloe did. And a lot of the time, especially if you're still partially conscious or co-conscious when another alter is close to the front or trying to control the body, it's kind of like watching yourself move or hearing thoughts. And for a lot of people, the only experience they've had of things like that has been in the media where somebody's been possessed. So this is not a possession phenomenon. This is a normal neurodevelopmental dissociative trauma-based disorder. Involuntary, recurring, and distressing. It's not part of a cultural phenomenon. It affects the way the brain develops, and it changes the way the brain works and processes memory. It's an extreme form of CPTSD. Alters who believe that they're spiritual or supernatural beings should be treated in the same way as any other alter. Psychotherapy can be really effective. Trauma therapy is very effective. Exorcisms are known to be really harmful and ineffective in treating complex trauma and complex dissociative disorders, and you should not try and get rid of your alters because it doesn't work like that and it will make things worse. Alters should be understood as a way of coping with and experiencing traumatic experiences, because that's what it is. It's the brain fragmenting into different memory, different awareness to cope with terrible things. Just like I was, dead alters are usually hidden from the rest of the system, at least for a certain period of time. They're often trapped or hidden in a traumatic memory where they felt like they were being killed. So a child who experiences a near-death experience, or for example very extreme abuse, may develop a dead alter to contain that trauma, that experience. Alters can't really die or be killed because the person's brain is still alive and functioning, and we're all part of the brain. Their feelings and experiences and thoughts can still leak through unless they're dormant, but alters can't be killed. We're part of the brain, just like you. If you're singular, if you have a single personality, you don't have DID or OSDD, then you can't destroy your personality. It's like energy. It can just take different forms. It can't be destroyed. I know that alters like me might seem really scary, and it is scary, but we're not going to hurt anybody. All alters are here because we've survived things that a lot of people wouldn't have been able to survive, and our brain had to adapt creatively in order to cope with that. It's a normal developmental route. We're not dangerous. We're just trying to survive. We all just want to be okay. I hope that this might have helped you understand a little bit about why some alters present as dead. Some may be ghosts or phantoms like me, some may look like skeletons, zombies, vampires, things like that. In me, inside, I am grey. I don't have any colour. I'm all shades of grey. I'm very malnourished. I have very long straight hair and it kind of floats. When I'm out here, my senses are very dulled, so I know a lot of people, you know, like when they touch things or taste things, you can taste and touch things and feel that. For me, it's very, very dull. A lot of the times I'm not very sensitive to temperature unless it's cold, which is extremely triggering. I don't really taste very much. I don't generally eat when I'm in the body. In that way, my experiences of fronting being in the body are very different to anybody else's, because I guess the brain is in a dissociated state when I'm fronting, as it needed to be, or was, when in the event that caused me to be created. Our brain was shutting down, we were dying, we couldn't feel much because our brain was going offline. So it might be a muscle memory within the brain of dullness and pain. That's me. Yay. I hope that this has helped and that you guys know more now and that you'll be understanding and gentle. And that you know that we're not dangerous. You know why we exist now. And anybody else who is a dead or non-human ghost alter, then you're not alone, because I exist too. Okay, Lynn needs to tell you about something, and that'll be here. Bye. If you haven't heard already, you should check out tickets below to the Entitled to Life conference, which is happening in San Francisco this November. It's happening on the 6th and 7th. It's a 2-day conference specifically about DID and OSDD. We are going to be guest speakers there, along with Multiplicity and Me, Jeremy and Alternate Perspective, now known as Team Pinata, the Labyrinth System, Fragmented Psych, and the Entropy System. It's going to be an amazing gala. You have the chance to meet us in person if you'd like to. It's going to be a super inclusive and incredibly safe experience. There's safe rooms and everything you could possibly need, and it's being very, very well put together, and we can't wait to see you there. Don't forget to check out tickets below, or you can watch the video we made about it up here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye!